Good morning, classmates. We are Group 4. Our topic is all about Phylum Mollusca. And before we start, let me introduce to you the members of our group. Biniga Princess May Fadera. Fabelia Maricon Taladad. For you, Rhea May. Gaku Senya Lorraine. Gulfo Princess Joanna Marie. Martinez Shanin and Talapian Crestalin Sabay. Today, we are going to report about Phylum Mollusca. We are going to discuss all about this phylum, its definition and importance in a variety of ways. We will give examples and characteristics of this phylum. We are also going to discuss about their habitats, their behaviors and forms. We will explain to you their symmetry, their skeletal and nervous systems, also their circulatory and respiratory system. We are also going to discuss how food is digested in their body, how they move, and how reproduction in mollusks achieved. At the end of the report, we will enumerate the classes of Phylum Mollusca, its example, and their specific characteristics.
What is Phylum Mollusca? Mollusca is the second largest phylum of invertebrate animals after the arthropoda, the members of which are known as mollusks or mollusks. Around 85,000 extant species of mollusks are recognized. The number of fossil species is estimated between 60,000 and 100,000 additional species. The name mollusca signifies a soft body since the earliest description of mollusks came from observations of unshelled cuttlefish. Mollusks are predominantly a marine group of animals. However, they are known to inhabit fresh water as well as terrestrial habitats. They are mostly found in marine and fresh water. Very few are terrestrial and found in moist soil. They exhibit organ system level of organization. Their body has a cavity. The body is divided into head, visceral mass, muscular foot, and mantle. The head comprises of tentacles and compound eyes. The body is covered by a calcareous. The muscular foot helps in locomotion. They have well-developed digestive system. The radula is the rasping organ for feeding. There is fire through the general body surface, gills or pulmonary sac. The blood circulates through the open circulatory system. They have a pair of metanephridia that helps in excretion. The nervous system consists of number of paired ganglia and nerves. The tentacles, eyes, osphradium, and statocytes act as the sensory organs. The sexes are separate in most of mollusks, but some species are hermaphrodites. Fertilization may be external or internal. They are generally oviparous with indirect development.
Now, I will discuss about the characteristics of Phylum Mollusca. Number 1. They are mostly found in marine and freshwater. Very few are terrestrial and found in moist soil, like snail and slug are found in land, while squid, clams, cuttlefish, and octopus are found in water. Number 2. They exhibit organ system level of organization. They are two unusual organs that are found exclusively in the mollusks, the mantle and the radula. These organs do not persist in higher organisms, but they were important adaptations to the environments inhabited by the mollusks. Although they are unique to the mollusks, some species lost this feature during the course of evolution. Number 3. Their body has a cavity. Mollusks breathe with gills called tenidia that sit in the cavity between mantle and body mass. Number 4. The body is divided into head, visceral mass, muscular foot, and mantle. Most mollusks have distinct head region. The head may have tentacles for sensing the environment and grasping food. Visceral mass is present above the foot in the visceral hump. This includes digestive, nervous, excretory, reproductive, and respiratory systems. Mollusks have muscular foot used for locomotion and anchorage that varies the shape and function, depending on the type of mollusk under study. Mantle is the layer of the tissue that lies between the shell and the body. It secretes calcium carbonate to form the shell. Number 5. The head comprises the tentacles and compound eyes. Number 6. The body is covered by the calcareous. Calcareous shell is the hard exoskeleton which provides protection to the organisms. Number 7. The muscular foot helps in locomotion. The foot is the principal locomotory organ in those mollusks which crawl and burrow. Number 8. They have well-developed digestive system. The radula is the rasping organ for feeding. Mollusks have a radula for grinding food, as a digestive gland is connected to the stomach. The tissue beneath the shell is called the mantle. Number 9. They respire through the general body surface, gills or pulmonary sac. Terrestrial habit leads to complete the loss of gills, and the variety of respiratory organs develop to suit the particular environment. Number 10. The blood circulates through the open circulatory system, meaning that the blood does not circulate entirely within the vessels, but is collected from the gills, pumped through the heart, and released directly into space in the tissue, from which returns to the gills and then to the heart. Number 11. They have a pair of metanophrygia that helps on excretion. Metanophrygia collects the liquid from the coelomatic cavity through a funnel-like structure called nephrostome. The coelomatic fluid enters the tubulus. Water and nutrients are reabsorbed. Number 12. The nervous system consists of number of paired ganglia and nerves. The mollusk's nervous system is referred to as tetraneural nervous system because there are 4 main neutral strands. The pairs of connective link the cerebral ganglia to the pedal ganglia. On the ventral side, another to the visceral ganglia, and parenchymal ganglia passing to the pleural ganglia on the dorsal side. Number 13. The tentacles, eyes, osphagium, and statocyst act as the sensory organs. 14. The sexes are separate in the most of the mollusks, but some species are the hermaphrodites. Fertilization may be external or internal. Mollusks are primary separate sexes, and reproductive organs are simple. Reproduction via unfertilized gametes, parthenogenesis, is also found among gastropods. The type of fertilization that occurs in Mollusca is that reproductive relies on the external fertilization. All produce eggs, which are female gamete, released before the fertilization, but the external fertilization, the eggs are fertilized by the sperm released in the water. Number 15. They are generally oviparous with indirect development. The life cycle of organisms include larval stage, distinctly different from the adult. It is called indirect development when the larval stage is absent in the life cycle of an organism. It is called the direct development.
Symmetry of phylum Mollusca. All animals of the phylum Mollusca have bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry is the arrangement of an organism's body parts into left and right halves on either side of a central axis or plane, which means bilateral symmetry refers to the organisms with body shapes that are mirror images along a midline called the sagittal plane. In other words, when the body of an organism can be divided into 2 halves, it is referred to as bilateral symmetry. Germ layer of a phylum Mollusca. Phylum Mollusca have three germ layers, the ectoderm, endoderm, and the mesoderm. By the process of gastrulation, the embryo differentiates into three types of tissue. The ectoderm, producing the skin and nervous system. The mesoderm, from which develop connective tissues, the circulatory system, muscles, and bones. And the endoderm, which forms the digestive system, lungs, and urinary system.
When it comes to skeletal of Phylum Mollusca, we call it exoskeleton, which means an external covering of an animal. The shells you find littered along the beach are actually the skeletons of invertebrate animals called mollusks. When we say mollusks, they are organisms that all have soft bodies. So according for them to protect their soft bodies from any predator, they used to hide themselves in their shells. Unlike the internal skeletons of humans, mollusks actually have an external skeleton. So as we can see, Phylum Mollusca has a big difference to human. We humans have skeletons, while mollusks have exoskeleton. This exoskeleton protects the animal's soft inner body parts and acts as a site for muscle attachment. What we see in the picture is a skeleton of a mollusk we call exoskeleton.
The nervous system of mollusks can be derived from a rope bladder nervous system. As a reminder of the rope bladder, most ganglia come in pairs. Ganglia of the same type are connected by the lateral connections called commissure. Ganglia of different types are connected by the longitudinal connections called connectives. The most important ganglion types are the cerebral ganglia of the head, the pedal of the foot, the pleural and the parietal ganglia of the pallial cavity, and the visceral ganglia of the inner organs. In front of the cerebral ganglia, there are the buccal ganglia of the pharynx. The mollusk nervous system is referred to as a tetraneural nervous system because there are four main neural strands. Two pairs of connectives link the cerebral ganglia to the pedal ganglia on the ventral side, another to the visceral ganglia and the parietal ganglia passing the pleural ganglia on the dorsal side. From the cerebral ganglia, nerves leads towards the tentacles and the eyes to the equilibrium, organs to the lips and to the penis. The esophageal buccal ganglia in front of them connect nerves to the gullet and the pharynx, the salivary glands, and the stomach. The pedal ganglia innerve the foot muscle and the foot skin. The pleural ganglia are connected to the mantle. The parietal ganglia compute information from and to the gills, and the osphagium, a chemomechanical sense organ in the pallial cavity. The visceral ganglia finally often are molten to one single ganglion and control nerves to the intestine, the anus, the skin, the posterior part of the genital apparatus, the kidney, the main digestive gland, and the heart.
Next are digestions of Phylum Mollusca. Clams and all mollusks have complete digestive system. It consists of a mouth where food is ingested, known as take food or another substance into the body by swallowing or absorbing. A short connecting tube called the esophagus, a stomach which temporarily holds foods, and intestines where food, digestions, and absorptions take place.
Circulatory system. Mollusks have a circulatory system with one or two hearts that pump blood. The heart is a muscular organ that pumps blood through the circulatory system with its muscle contract. Most of all animals that are mollusca have an open circulatory system. Having an open circulatory system allows the blood to flow freely throughout the body, meaning its circulation of blood is not restricted to just passing through the blood vessels to get from the heart ventricles to the organs. Blood within an open circulatory system is pumped by the heart into the tissue throughout the body. There are many animals that fit under the Mollusca phylum.
Respiratory of Phylum Mollusca. Mollusk species that are exclusively aquatic have gills for respiration. whereas some terrestrial species have lungs for respiration. Additionally, a tongue-like organ called a radula, or structure of tiny teeth used for scraping food particles off a surface and drawing them into the mouth.
Excretory system. The excretory system consists of tube-shaped organs called nephridia. The organs filter waste from the body fluids and release the waste into the colon. Terrestrial mollusks exchange the gases with the surrounding air. This occurs across the lining of the mantle cavity. Aquatic mollusks breathe underwater with gills.
Next are the reproduction of Phylum Mollusca. Mollusks are primarily of separate sexes, and the reproductive organs or gonads are simple. Reproductions via an unfertilized gamete or parthenogenesis is also found among gastropods, commonly known as snails and slugs, of the subclass Prosobranchia. Most production, however, is sexual.
Locomotion of phylum Mollusca. Mollusks have a muscular foot used for locomotion and anchorage that varies in shape and function, depending on the type of mollusk under study. Mollusks move by crawling over or burrowing into substrata and by swimming. The muscular foot in the mollusks, apart from locomotion, also helps in reproduction, swimming, burrowing, and etc.
Characteristics that belong to phylum Mollusca. Classes in phylum Mollusca. This phylum can be segregated into 7 classes. These are Aplacophora, Monoplacophora, Polyplacophora, Bivalvia, Gastropoda, Cephalopoda, and lastly, Scaphopoda. Aplacophora, an order of Amphineura comprising warm-up mollusks in which the body is without calcareous plates, but the mantle bears numerous calcified spicules over its entire surface. Examples: Gastropoda, Bivalvia, Scaphopoda, Cephalopoda. The shell-less molluscs are among the most primordial creatures to be found on Earth. Instead of a shell, their exterior is protected by a sturdy skin, the cuticula reinforced with spines or scales. Monoplacophora. Image for Monoplacophora means bearing one plate is a polyphyletic superclass of mollusks with a cup-like shell, how living at the bottom of the deep sea. Examples: snails, mussels, clams, squid, octopus. This is how they feed. They scrape up bits of minerals, plants, animals, and other organisms that settle on the sea bottom. Behavior and reproduction. Nothing is known about their behavior or reproduction. Polyplacopora are a class of phylum Mollusca and are commonly known as chitons. Examples: Ketoneda, Eulericata, Mapalayodi, Liptoketon, Ketonena. They are easily distinguishable from supercilly similar limpets, which are part of gastropoda, by the fact that their shell is composed of 8 separate plates, rather than being just one piece. Bivalvia, in previous centuries referred to as the Lamelia brachiate and Pelecypoda, is a class of marine and freshwater mollusks that have laterally compressed bodies, enclosed by a shell consisting of 2 hanged parts. Examples: clams, cockles, mussels, oysters, scallops. They include the examples and numerous other families that live in salt water, as well as a number of families that live in fresh water. The majority are filter feeders. The gulls have evolved into echinacea specialized organs for feeding and breeding. Gastropoda, commonly known as snails and slugs, belong to a large taxonomic class of invertebrates within the phylum Mollusca called Gastropoda. This class comprises snails and slugs from salt water, from fresh water, and from the land. Examples: Burgundy snail, giant African snail, leopard slug, garden snail, and apple snail. Gastropod, any member of more than 65,000 animal species belonging to the class Gastropoda, the largest group in the phylum Mollusca. Cephalopoda is any member of molluscan class cephalopoda such as squid, octopus, cuttlefish, or nautilus. These exclusively marine animals are characterized by bilateral body symmetry, a prominent head, and a set of arms of tentacles modified from primitive molluscan fruit. Examples: giant squid, octopus, cuttlefish, nautilidae, and colossal squid. The common examples of the class Cephalopoda is octopus, aside from being one of the most recognizable cephalopods. The octopus is also one of the ocean's most intelligent creatures. Scaphopoda. The tusk shells or touch shells, technically the Scaphopoda, are members of class of shells marine mollusks with worldwide distribution, and are the only class of exclusively infaunal marine mollusks. Shells of species within the class range from about 0.5 to 18 cm. Examples: Antalis, Gadiludi, Phaedentalium, Dentalium octangulatum, Antalas intalis. There are anywhere from 750 to 1,200 species of scaphopod, with about half that number being the insect species and the other half recent ones.